Watch out now. It's the little one, and I'm not Bow Wow. All right, folks, we back. This is Man Cave Monday, episode 2. That's Dose. And we got our last friend here with us. All right, Tez came to join us, and now the whole gang is here. So I got Tez with me, I got Nestor with me, I got Daze with me, I got Dex with me, I got Dre with me. And whoever's texting, fuck you. We're potting. So we're all back. Oh, actually, I want to read some shit. So let me bring this back. So today, we're going to talk all about ego. Ego driven, egotistical, egomaniacs. So let's start with what is ego. According to the Oxford Dictionary, ego is a person's self-esteem or self-importance. And just in case there's any confusion, I got pride here with me. It also says, Oxford Dictionary, pride, definition 1 is a feeling of deep pleasure or satisfaction derived from one's own achievements, the achievements of those whom with one is closely associated, or from qualities or possessions that are widely admired. Number 2 is pretty much the same thing as ego, consciousness of one's own dignity. So let's start with question number 1. Question number 1 is, how important is ego? Anybody can go first. Do your thing. Not all at once. Anybody got thoughts? How important is ego?
I want to say it is important, but like all things in balance, can't have too much ego. It's something that's important to make you take risks that may be necessary.
I like that.
In general,
I like that. I like
because you have to have some kind of confidence, self-confidence, to do certain things, make certain choices in your life. Period. And the ego and self-confidence is something that's important for that. Too much, then you start taking risks that just are extremely unnecessary, and I believe I can fly. I'm gonna jump off the roof right now and give it a go.
Everything you believe in, fear, doubt, and disbelief.
Way too much.
Let it all go, Neo. And then you die.
Go.
All right. What else, fellas? What y'all got?
I think, remember, I guess we could say, but remember I was talking about situational awareness.
Okay.
Remember I mentioned that situational awareness. I think when that comes into play, I think it depends on the situation. Given the situation, what part of your ego do you exercise?
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Okay. So you think it is important, but depends on situation.
Yeah, I think it's important given the situation, and I like Nessa's point about balance. Too much of anything isn't good for you. Duality, Jake. That's always. I wanted to see his reaction. Two things could be right at the same time. So I'm gonna say situational awareness, but I'm gonna also go with Ness on balance.
Yeah, I'm riding off of what the two brothers just said. I think ego is like, carrying a weapon, and you got to know when you have to really flash that weapon or utilize that weapon. Yeah, you have. I think with age, you know how to use it better. Yeah. I think, what I mean? As you grow older, you know how to use it better. But it's like a weapon. Sometimes you have to pull it out, that weapon, to show you mean business. Not even shoot it, but just pull it out and just say, all right, but most of the time you just keep it tucked away because you know what you believe, and you have to have the ego to still learn from your surroundings too, if you know what I mean. You know what I mean? Not just think, well, I know everything in a situation. Sit back and learn something or look at somebody else's point of view. I'm talking in a discussion or debate type of situation, to have an ego, to have the wisdom. I think as you grow older, you get better at that though. That's it. I'm just adding on to what you guys said. You know?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Um, Also, like what you guys, I agree with what you guys are saying. Ego can also be like a value of self-respect, right? Like if you see yourself in a situation where you know you feel like you're worth something and you're being undervalued or overvalued, that's when your ego comes into play, because now you have to like either check a person or correct the person, like on some, hey, this ain't gonna happen, I'm better than that, or you have to admit, hey, you're the better man for that. It's like we're all saying, it's all relative to the situation. It's all a matter of perspective in that.
Right.
So yeah.
I think with lack of awareness. I'm sorry, Dre. Was you gonna say something?
Oh, you can finish, bro. I'll go in after you.
Okay. I was gonna say, like, with lack of awareness, I think that's when the importance of ego, I think, gets lowered. I want to say, because with people's lack of awareness of their ego, they could get a little overzealous, and I
Yeah,
think that's when it becomes toxic.
yeah. You know, I agree with everything that's been said so far. In psychology, it's something called a healthy ego, and then obviously the opposite is an unhealthy ego, right? So it's pretty much what you guys are saying already. A healthy ego is, what Tez is saying, like, yo, I know my worth, I know my value, um, I know who I am, and so that's that healthy ego where I'm not going to just let people like step all over me or something of that nature. The Yeah, the unhealthy ego is where it can, you know, um, as that's the saying, it's not balanced. Everything is about you. You become self-centered, and yeah, that's kind of like the an unhealthy ego, or even the other way around, where you have an unhealthy sense of self, where you kind of putting yourself down a lot of times. So, I know these terms are relative, healthy and unhealthy, but you have to know in terms of yourself what matters to you. If y'all don't mind, I'd like to pose a question, since we are on a podcast that is, about men.
Go for it.
The question I have for y'all, and maybe Jay, you can start answering, is what do you believe, or do you believe in a male ego, or what is a male ego?
Well, that's why I put the topic, because in society, in the media, and now social media, ego is a quote unquote male centric term. It is a stereotypical thing for a male to have too much machismo, too much ego. And that is why I said, okay, I know that all six of us view ego in different ways and use it in different situations, and we're all constantly in different types of environments. So I said, okay, this is a great topic to talk about on Man Cave Monday. Let's get to the shit, because everyone, I don't want to say everyone, but often on things that we see visually, media that we consume, the man is very egocentric. It is my house, it is my pussy, I'm the man, and it's all me, me, me. It's all very ego centered when we see these things. The media will have you believe that every man on the planet allows his ego to dictate his life. And that's why I said, okay, well, then let's bring it here. So, yeah, I think that they have, uh, it has become stereotypical to see these men do things. A lot of times, even when you see someone do something in real life, IRL, you'll say, there go that male ego, which is why we'll
Yeah,
get to one of our questions to the flip side of that in a moment. But that's why that's
yeah,
up there as well. I figure this is a great place to talk about all of the things surrounding ego. And so, yeah,
yeah,
is there a male ego? Society will have you believe there is. I believe
yes.
everyone has ego. So I guess we can skip and come back. my question was, do women have ego? Because it is a male-centered term in society. We constantly see different news outlets, uh, everywhere, in
Yeah.
parodies and everything we see, it's the male
Yeah.
ego, whether that is Bruce Wayne, when he's not being Batman, and it's like, oh, I have to put on this persona because a billionaire and a playboy is supposed to have this ego and make these certain moves. If I don't show up in a helicopter with 10 super fly women, I don't fit the stereotype. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So that is something that I think everyone has ego. So I guess I'll start
Yeah.
by answering the question that we're going to get to later, which is, do women have ego? Yes, women have ego. Humans have ego. Yeah, I mean,
There you
I
go.
believe they do. I believe if you're a human being, you have an ego, because that's also why I read the definition of pride, and often why they're mentioned hand in hand, right? They say,
Correct.
Yeah.
oh, well, no, that's that pride and ego. Well,
Yeah.
why? Why is it something that's constantly mentioned together? Because the definitions are almost synonymous. It's
Yeah.
something that, yeah, it has to do with sense of self, but it also has to do with the way you view yourself when interacting with society, right? And so,
Yeah.
yeah, you might be the man in your house, but once you
Correct.
leave your house, there's other men. You might be the woman, the bitch, whatever you want to call yourself in your house, but once you leave your house, there are now other human beings that you have to interact with.
Right.
And so your
Yeah.
sense of self, as some of you said, gets challenged. Your sense of self gets questioned, and all these other things. So yeah, I believe women have ego. I believe everyone has ego. What do y'all believe?
Yeah. See, I want to step it up a little bit and say that male ego shit is a myth,
Okay.
because of what you just said, because all human beings have it. But I think what society tends to do, and we have to kind of go here since we are talking, from a male perspective, is they like to put things that are associated with men in a negative connotation. So when you hear male ego, it's always made in a negative sense. It's never a positive thing, So it's like, oh, that's just your male ego. But
Mhm.
if we know that females have egos too, but you never hear, oh, that's just your female ego, right?
Mhm.
Women are encouraged to be self-centered and to have big egos too, to be boss bitches and all that. It's like to let your ego soar if you're a female, but if you're a man, if you have when someone says you're doing
Oh,
this
I love
because of your male ego, that's actually sort of a diss. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm like, I think that whole thing, that term is a myth, honestly. And y'all can go in.
it. Well,
That's
that makes me that makes me say this. I don't even think it's a question. I don't want to pose a question with a question, but I'll even go as far as making a statement, right? Because it's something I like to say often. People throw around the word humble, humility, etc., right? So when not to be humble, I think when not to be humble is when people decide to exercise their ego, correct? Right? Because if you're not exercising your ego, then you're practicing humility, right? And integrity, things of that nature. But when you look up the definition of humble, right? Humble requires you to lower yourself in an instance. Like when you look up that's why I prefer the term modest. Like I'll exercise modesty because humble requires you to lower yourself. But with that being said, when not to be humble, because if the ego is necessary, when can one exercise their ego in a comfortable space where it's not critiqued as such? You understand? I'll give an example. Like for example, y'all see me. I'm very confident. Like when I'm on stage, like that's my shit. Nobody can't tell me nothing. And that's because when I'm off stage, I'm the opposite. I practice humility. So when I'm up there, I don't give. When I'm up there, I don't really care about people critiquing me in that fashion, like, oh, this dude think he the shit, or he think he, because when I'm off that, you feel what I'm saying? I'm humble as a mumble in the jungle. Not to mention, if I was up there dragging my feet, saying nobody knows the trouble I've seen, I don't think people would be that drawn to my performance or my music. So you don't want to see somebody lacking self-esteem, right? So I'm saying two things: when not to be humble, and the ego is necessary when not being humble, I guess, in certain spaces.
But okay, well, we
So
could get to that. But so, do you think everyone has ego? Is the question. Do women have
Yes,
ego?
I think everyone has ego. I think it's what you said. Like, as human beings, we all have ego. Everybody just exercise it differently. Some have discipline, some don't have discipline. Some people don't even be aware. You know, they just be so self-absorbed that they not even aware that they probably exercise their ego, probably part of their personality. You know what I mean? Like, you know,
I think like to address like it's kind of two different points that to address it what Dre was saying. One, yes, women have ego, men have ego, all that. I don't think um, it's necessarily like the male ego thing is a myth in the fact that of how it's used, right? So it's used mostly in context for like really like kind of outdated uh, societal things that people still want to cling on to, right? So men are judged, or men's egos are built off of three kind of core things, and that's usually money, strength, like physical strength, and women. Those are kind of like the things that are always attacked in that regard when it comes to the male ego. And so whenever that topic comes up, usually that's what it's referring to specifically is like that particular man's feelings or his actions in regards to those three things in general. Um, and usually that's what it is. It's someone feeling threatened in one of those three areas, and then they will react in a certain way, and then it's like, oh, there's that male ego acting up, and that's where that regard is. Now, not to say women don't have uh, ego in those areas, or they don't feel a certain way in those areas. Just traditionally, that's how that's usually set up, and that's where those responses come from. Um, Whereas for women, it's very different things. And then to lead towards that other point where you were saying that women are like propped up and pushed up to do that, to really flex their ego. Yes and no, because there's a lot of hey, do you, yeah, but also in regards to that as well, you see a lot of women just being targeted for doing that, and just in general, like you could just like scroll through Instagram and just see women doing a bunch of different things or being influencers or whatever it is, and then you'll have somebody or a bunch of people going at them like, all you're doing is taking pictures of yourself, like why you think you're so bad, like all this, just a whole string of like really crazy negative shit just for them taking a picture of themselves, and not even being an influencer, just a regular person taking a picture of themselves and taking a selfie. And it gets crazy sometimes, like, oh, you're not that bad, like whatever, and so much worse. So yeah, they're definitely pushed and said, hey, yeah, do you, but also at the same time, they get a lot of that as well on the other end. So I don't think it's not like it's not something that is pushed more in one way and like seen negatively in another light, just because like male or female, um, both sides definitely experience a huge amount of both. Because even like it, even when dudes don't have enough self confidence in certain things, they're definitely beaten down even more because of that.
Oh,
And
definitely.
not even necessarily on purpose. Somebody could just be pointing out that they're really lacking a lot of self confidence, and it doesn't help them build any in any way. Just telling them, hey, like
There-
you suck is what they hear.
There's a term that we're all familiar with that says if you're lacking in any of those attributes that you said, you're told to be a man, right? I can't fight, be a man. I don't make enough money. Be a man. I don't do any of these attributes that you name. It's be a man. The reason why I'm
Yeah.
saying that it's a myth or that I don't see it as much on the woman's side because you don't hear be a woman. You know what I'm saying? Yes, women are being told, hey, go out there, be queens of industry, take no prisoners. You could be whatever you want. You could be as feminine as you want to, you could be as masculine as you want to. There is no standard of what a woman is. But when you talk about men, we all have heard be a man. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, well,
Well,
what does
they're
that really
judged
mean?
on a different standard. Is the
Yes.
problem? Yeah, they're judged on a completely different standard, where it's like, oh, and you do hear that, but you don't hear it like that. You hear be more ladylike, or act more like a lady, and you get a lot more of oh, you know, you're acting like a hoe. Like, why you dressing like that? This, and this. So you do see it. It's just in a very different direction most of the time,
So do you think, Nestor? Do you think
or
that?
very different.
I'm sorry to cut you off. Go ahead. I'll wait.
No, yeah, go.
Do you think that it's just the verbiage that's different, or do you think that the message and the way that women are propped up, as Dre is saying, is what's different?
Um, the way they're propped up, because it's definitely a different focus when somebody looks at a man and they see what a man is lacking, or what they're like, where their bravado is versus a woman. They're going to shut down um what a man's doing, or push what a man should be, based on certain ideas of how they feel a man should be. And then they're going to do the same thing to women, but they have different ideas of what a woman should be.
All right.
So they're going to catch the same
Heat.
level of whatever it is, but it's in different topics, in different zones.
It's all about the double standards that we have that Nessa was hitting on, and that to me is different. But that's also from an ideology of the old guard, if you will, right? We lived in a day and age where, I mean, we grew up in a day and age where the man had to be the person who took care of the household. The man had to be the one, someone who breaks in the house got to be the first one, take the hit, whatever happens, you got to be there, and things are kind of different now in most regards, right? Women can stand up for themselves. They fought for equality and stuff. And I'm not saying that a woman can or can't defend themselves. Nobody can defend themselves if they're not trained properly. That's the way it is. A bigger person, smaller person, doesn't matter. We've seen big people fall, small people thrive, right? But it all comes down to that ego that will put you in that situation where I got to take care of this household. I got to do this because this is my house. And that's where the ego will play the major factor in it. It is bravado. It is, the upbringing of, women's got to be women and men got to be men. I'm not with that. Like I've been against that for a very long time. I never understood if a woman was, promiscuous, why she's devalued. I don't agree with that. I'm sorry. If a guy can sleep with the same amount of people, it's the same thing. That's my opinion on my own. And for people calling them hoes and sluts, what are you as a guy? Pretty much the same shit, right? And we grew up with the praise for the guys and the disgrace for the girls, and it's just not cool. It doesn't flow that way. But to not get off topic, that does hurt the ego, though. Like if a girl does the same thing as a guy, oh, you're a slut, then her ego's hurt. Then she devalues herself, right? A woman's pride is definitely, it's I'm not gonna say it's more sensitive, but can be triggered differently than a guy's. And like if a girl says she's too fat, she could take that the wrong way, and then go down a downward path of sickness and stuff. And a guy, if you say he's too fat, he's gonna say fuck it, I'm gonna eat more. I don't give a shit. Or you know what? Maybe I'll go to the gym for a week. I got a Planet Fitness subscription. I'll go for a week. We'll see what happens. I got some muscles. I'm good. But it's also, to me, ego is just something, to me, I don't feel relevant. we all got to live in our comforts. We all got to live in our bubbles, right? If you want to push yourself, then you use your ego to push yourself to get out of that, right? If you don't, like me, for example, I'm super shy when I'm single. I hate pulling the trigger. I hate saying that, I like someone. I have literally have been in a situation where I've liked someone for over 6 months and never shot the shot. And in the end, who lost? Me. Whose ego took a pride? Me. So moving forward, I like someone. And I remember that situation. I used my ego and said, yo, I'm better than that person that I was 10 years ago. Let's shoot the shot. Let's see what happens. So in that's where my ego came into play. And I used my ego as a beneficial weapon. And to round it off, the male ego, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in the stereotype of the male ego, like Dre says, because at the end of the day, we all have an ego. We all have a baseline. And I feel it's not just self-confidence, but it's also self-worth of where you envision yourself. I'm not going to enter a fitness competition knowing that I'm not fit, right? That's my ego saying, hey, you're not ready for that. But my ego could also say, yo, if you go hard in the gym for a year, you might be able to enter that fitness competition. So that, that's the way I feel about
Yeah,
ego.
but then it's your ego telling you to go do something that you can't do. You get what I'm saying? Like that foolish pride. You feel what I'm saying? Same example, right?
His ego won't let him do that.
Huh?
He said his ego
No, he
won't.
said won't. He said won't and will. He gave two separate examples. He said that he could not do it, and then he said his ego could tell him, "Yo, go get on your grind, go get to it." Like I said earlier, egos are part of their personality, so they coming in with that energy. Foolish pride. Like you going doing something, or I give a better example. There's people who try to go do something just because somebody else is doing it, or somebody else knows how to do it, or they might even benefit from it. Oh, Jay, he doing, his business and he got body butter, so you know what? Maybe I could go do it too. You never even did any research. You never even had any interest, none whatsoever.
Hey, thank you,
Right.
sir. Nigga put product placement right on the
Product
screen.
placement.
You know
Nice product placement. Shit, everybody's up here like,
You know what I'm
hey,
saying?
but but no, what I'm saying is now we talking about those individuals where, foolish pride, foolish ego. You know that you can't do that, and you're not even, your ego's telling you to do it, and you can't do it. Now you playing yourself. What we say, you fronting on yourself
That's
now.
it. Talk
Right.
to him. That's Dre's
Yeah.
turn.
Right.
Yeah.
But-
okay. Shout out to Dre for that.
Right,
Shout out to
Dre's
Dre
turn.
for that. You fronting on yourself now.
Yeah, exactly.
Because your ego telling you could do something, but deep down inside that you can't do it.
Right.
You know?
So let's do it like this. Our next topic is responding to that, but Dex hasn't got a chance to really chime in since
I was
Dre
just gonna
posed the
say-
question. So let's give
Thank
Dex
you.
a
I was
chance.
just gonna say everybody's saying great stuff, but yeah, the what Dre started with asking about the male ego, and everybody said great stuff. It's always going to be rooted in the standards that this country has had years ago. Men run the house, the men are the head of the home. We all some of us grew up in the 70s. Commercials is all about, the guy had to be, if you're macho, you have the woman and stuff. If you wear the right cologne, you got the woman. You smoke the right cigarettes, the women come around you. You got to be macho and tough. And it still lingers. That stuff still lingers. Now, the funny part about it, though, some partners you may have may get on you if you on your male ego, but they want you to have a male ego. They want you to be manly in that standard. It's a kind of funny twist. So where do we, you know what I'm saying?
Draw them
So
to you.
it's a kind of funny thing, though. So women, they want you to be that way, but then when you get too much, you got an ego, but you wanted this. You know what I mean? You wanted to act this way. This is a random thought I just thought about as we go along with what we're talking about.
No, that's okay. So Dex, real quick, do you believe women have ego?
For me,
or do you feel it's only a
women have
male-centered
ego.
thing?
Absolutely, totally, yeah, totally have ego. Instead, in society, we don't bash them for it. You know what I mean? But they have an ego. I mean, workplace, they have the same vibe, same energy. Sometimes maybe driven because they feel they have to battle against the male ego that's trying to outshine them. You know what I'm saying? So it's ugly it could be an ugly thing, but they have an ego too. They have the same drive and want to do the, you know what I mean? So it's
Sir.
but yeah, go ahead.
Can I do you Dex, do you think it, because you had brought something up while you was making your point about them competing with ours, do you think their ego come from feeling like being
Well, that's what I'm
suppressed by the
saying.
male ego?
It's a tricky line. There's some people in the workplace, some women in the workplace, they feel they have to be a little extra just to match up with some, yeah, in the workplace.
Oh, in the workplace
You know,
specifically.
to match up with the ego they're
Okay.
getting from other
Okay.
guys who are probably a little too excessive. But I mean, just if there was, even if there was no suppressing, they got an ego too. They got an ego, and you know, they do too. You know, so, yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay, so now let's get to engines. Now let's get to what Days was chiming in on. So the last question we posed is, how bad is ego? This is my favorite one. I'm gonna be honest. So, but that's the new question. So we said, how good is ego? Do women have ego now? How bad is ego?
You know, yeah, what Days is saying is like it could be really bad because it will have you believing in illusions, things that are just not right. You know, so put it like this: as you all know, I'm a martial arts teacher, right? I can't tell you how many times I walk into rooms to ready to teach kids, and they're on some like, yo, so I'm ready for my black belt. Like this is the first day of class. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, well, you know, I'm ready for the trials right now. I could do it right now. I could beat you, Sensei. And it's like wilding right now.
Obi-Wan,
You know,
I'm ready for the trials.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I'm 30 years doing this, and you've been doing this for a week and a half, and you're gonna challenge of all people in here me? Like, are you crazy? Like, are you completely out of your mind? But that's what he's saying is that your ego is so misaligned that you feel like you're such that man that you could do any and everything. And unfortunately for cats like that, male or female, it takes an awakening. You know what I'm saying? Like something got to happen where it's like, oh wow, I guess not. Right now you've learned. You know what I'm saying? So it can't if it's not adjusted right. Yeah, it could definitely lead you to a path of self-destruction.
It's almost like what Dre's saying.
Right,
I totally agree with. There's this blindness of like your ego could just be blind, and you say something ridiculous like that, or it's kind of mixed with jealousy. JD's doing good. I could do better than him, man. You know what I mean? You know, it's not even like coming from a sense like JD's doing great. I'm inspired by that to do good in what I'm doing. Nah, I could do better than him. I'm going to do the same thing he's doing. You know what I'm saying? So this thing, you know what I mean?
JD.
Is this too? Is this it could go two ways. That dumb, blind youth kind of. I want to fight the sensei for my black belt. You know what I mean? Or it could be just a jealousy that your ego's kind of meshing with. That it's ugly. It's ugly. You know what I'm saying? Both is kind of Well, the jealousy ones are really meshing. That meshing is ugly to me. But
has a crazy range of being bad too. Like it could be something as simple as like I just think I can do something I can't really do, and in those regards, like I'm gonna do this, like I can do better than him, and you just fail at it. Or to the range of even what Dre was saying. Oh, I'm gonna challenge the sensei. I've had no experience, and I'm gonna do this, and you go and you get hurt.
not going. I'm inspired by the sensei. Let me work hard. You know what I mean? Let me work hard and practice everything he's doing. And no, I want to fight him.
Like I'm gonna outright challenge you. I'm gonna go whether he wants to or not. We're fighting. Like let's go. And then even to a further extent from that, because this was the example I was thinking of. Oh, I'm going to this competition, and I'm gonna do brick breaking. Let's go. And you've never even broken boards in your life, not even boards. Like, and you want to just go and punch bricks and let's go. And you break your
Right.
hands and you're
Now
done.
you broke everything. Your ego, your hand, your reputation.
Right.
No, but sometimes they're not even done. They're not even done after that.
Yeah, it's like, oh, they'll just, it's whatever. It'll heal.
Come up with an excuse.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying?
It's a bolo and you don't even know it. You're in the hospital with a
Like, he
broken
came
leg.
with bricks instead of center blocks. He cheated.
Right.
Yeah, that's my favorite example because I see that, and even outside of martial arts, right, where you see people trying to, like, without practice, without putting the time in, their ego is telling them, oh yeah, you could do a triple BMX flip or whatever. It's just like you haven't put some time in to get your basics right. And so, Jay and I have another podcast, right, where we talk about these things in terms of like fitness.
You motherfucker. I was like,
It's
all right,
the
when
same
everyone's done, I'll bring it up. This motherfucker is like, I got it.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's like, okay, it's my first day at the gym. I want to get strong, so I'm gonna just put 400 pounds on the bench press.
Right.
Let me see what happens.
how
And then
much
now
can
you're
you bench?
going. So yeah, it's like I said, it's just such a path of self-destruction if you don't learn how to bounce. Dex earlier when he said it's a tool, or like a weapon, or whatever you call it, I call it's a tool. And like every tool or every weapon, you got to know when to pull it out and when not to, when to be a student, when to be a teacher, when to have that ego, and when to, when to holster it, you know what I mean? Like holster it for a second, learn a few things, and then maybe you can tweak it out. You know what I'm saying?
Not only know when, but know how. Because I didn't been in the field of construction, and some people just don't know how to use them tools.
Yeah.
They know how. They have an idea of what the tool is for, but you be there like you scratching your head like, okay, he gonna hurt himself. I think it's the same way with ego. You gotta know how to contain it.
Hey, don't even talk about it.
He said, don't even talk about the gym. No, well. Remember, we was touching on male ego, but in those male-oriented environments, you understand what I'm saying? It's a lot of ego in those environments.
You smell it when you walk
so you
in.
gotta, but you gotta know when.
Like mad ego in here. Yeah.
No, but at that point, do you exercise humility because you know what you came here for? You know what your goal is.
I mean, if
You
you
feel what
went
I'm
to the
saying?
gym, whatever the fuck everybody else doing, don't matter.
That's when like the ego has to be a tool or weapon, as Dre was saying, because
like it's a tool, but you got to know how to use that tool. You know what I mean? He said know when, know how too.
Taz, go ahead. I see you, Taz.
But my thing with ego is it's a company you keep that will keep your ego in check. That should keep you. I'm not gonna say that will. That should keep your ego in check, right?
Else with it, yes.
Like if I'm gonna do something, I have my council people. Shout out to the council. I have my council people that I hit up. Yo, is this the right move? If not, I have a close knit circle of friends. I have like really close friends that I'd be like, yo, I like this person. Do you think that I should do it? Yeah, why not? Or if I'm going to do something, especially with my streaming platform, if I don't feel like I'm ready for something, I'll hit people up that I trust in what I'm doing to give me that feedback. And I'm humble enough to take that negative criticism, right? Because that's another thing too. That's where the ego gets hurt. Now you're not ready for that. What do you mean I'm not ready for that? I've been doing this for so long. But if you feel, I'm a person believer, you know your self-worth, and you got to detect when people are trying to put you down. But if you value someone's word and opinion on it, then you got to put that. Then you can put that ego in check and sit back and learn. Like if you want to go into the kumite, you can't go day one. You got to learn how to fight. You got to break wood and do all the katas and all that stuff that that they teach you, and you got to take it back a notch. You got to take a step back and learn. But if you know that you put the sweat equity into what you've done and what you're doing,
equity,
yes sir,
sweat equity.
If you put all that work and all that practice.
I got it right there. Did he say sweat equity?
Yeah, that's sweat equity. No,
I heard that right. Okay.
Go ahead, Taz. Keep going, baby. Keep going.
But once you know that you did all that work, like, man, I've been in the gym shooting those free throws. I've done this work. I'm ready for this time. Then then your ego can definitely boost you to give you that confidence to try it. And it's not even if you fail, it's still not bad. Your ego will take a hit, but your ego, if your ego is strong enough, you'll learn from that what you did wrong, what you did right, and how to improve the next time to excel the situation.
Ooh, can I? Ooh. I gotta say this because he just said that. That should just look. I'm getting goosebumps. The brother man said this, right, and it gave me chills. He said sometimes knowing what not to do is more important than knowing what to do.
And that's part of ego. Amen.
That was the, like Jay like to say, that was the drop.
That's the drop. That's the drop. Yeah.
That what Tez was saying made me think about that.
So I have a flip to that
I
too.
love it because I
Okay.
was like, I'm about the devil's advocate. This whole shit. Go ahead.
Well, not really devil's advocate, but the opposite where it could be bad.
Okay.
Yep.
So we're talking about where ego is bad when it pushes you to do things that are beyond your limits that you definitely shouldn't be doing, or at least you shouldn't be doing right now.
Yeah.
It could also keep you from doing things that you should be.
You should be doing?
Yes.
That you should be doing, yeah, because you can be at a point where it's like, well, you've taken so many hits where you just don't see you succeeding at certain levels, and you have the ability, you definitely can do it, but your ego has taken so many hits already where it's like, nah, like, don't do that. You're just going to fail again. Like, it's you're not going to be able to do it, and that's where it can be harmful as well, because it's keeping you from doing something that you would succeed at, or keeping you from doing something that you can do well, and probably build the ego back, your self-esteem, your ego back up to a healthy level.
You know what's interesting about this whole conversation, hearing all of these different aspects of ego, because when I think of ego, when I hear ego, or at least used to it, I don't see and I'm not disagreeing with what you said, Ness. I don't see ego talking somebody out of. I see it enticing people. Most of the time, that's how I see it executed. People being enticed, people, being so self-absorbed. You know what I mean? Or even to the extent of somebody's confidence superseding their status. You know what I mean? Right. Their social status.
That's definitely going to be more visible because, I mean, it is, because it's something bigger, and it is. But the flip side to that is you aren't going to see when people are lacking in that confidence, or anybody. I'm pretty sure somebody that they can do something, and they're like, nah, I don't think I can do that, or I'm not even going to try, or anything to that respect. But for sure, because you've seen them do something similar, or anything. And that is what that is. That's not even like that. It's not that there's ego there. It's ego. Your ego is pushing you in the opposite direction.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you.
It's not even like it's, because sometimes it could seem like it's a lack of it, where the ego isn't there, but really your ego can be harmful in that way as well, where it's telling you, it's pushing. It's like, no, keep this in control. Like, you're not that, like, you have some talent in this field, but you're not that good.
Let me ask you this, Nestor. What do you think? Let me ask you this. Where do you think that kind of thought pattern derives from? Do you think that just naturally happened, or they were told, or the environment? What do you think?
So it's definitely 2 or 3 different things. The main thing is failure. Like, you messed something up at some point that you feel like, or you did try something at a point, and you're connecting the 2 things as if you didn't put in the work in between since then, that you're definitely better, or don't even recognize that this situation is completely different than wherever you failed at. This is a completely different situation that actually you can use your skills on, and you just feel like, oh well, it's the same thing. It's just I'm just gonna end up failing again, trying again. It's not worth it. So I think failure is probably the biggest
Contributor.
factor in diminishing an ego, but it also could be just uh, life experiences in general where
Because to the point,
people are put down and
Sorry.
told, hey, that's not realistic. That's not a realistic goal. Maybe you should try something a little bit more realistic. And hey, what are you gonna fall? Or even like that, what's gonna be your fallback? If somebody says, hey, I have this goal, I'm gonna become an actor. Like, okay, that's cool, but what's your fallback? Like, maybe you should think about something else to do just in case. And then like that will get under their skin, and it's like, well, maybe I'm not that good. And then it starts to like feed that
the reason
negative
I asked that,
parts.
the reason I asked that is because, like, Tez was talking about, having a counsel around you, people who are going to give you honest answers, but they wouldn't shoot you down, just tell you can't do anything. Or, yeah,
And that's the whole thing. It's not
Yeah,
always that.
yeah.
It's not always a shot down. It could
Right.
be coming from a place of genuine
And
caring about the person,
Right.
and
right.
don't
Or
want
my
to
other
see
thing
them
is,
fail.
if you're younger and you're feeling that way, your family, what I mean? What kind of, how your family prop you up and encourage you to get out of that type of mentality? You know what I mean? I mean, of course, we all have those moments where we probably think I can't do it, but I'm thinking now. That's why I was like, where do you think that derives from? When you start thinking too much like that, failure is one, but if you don't have a right support group around you that you can learn from, or you know, be propped up and say, try again. You could do this if you work hard and follow these steps. You could do, like that kind of support group. I just want to throw that in there because it's important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Tess really went into something in terms of like relationships and the people around you, which is probably a different topic for another day, but it is ultra important. Because as Ness is saying, some people are doing that out of love because they're like, well, I don't want to see you disappointed. I don't want to see you fail at this thing, and I'm going to help you adjust your expectations in life by bringing it down a few notches. um you know and I understand that where that comes from, but for me, being somebody who's lived life up to this period, I really believe that that's bullshit, and I don't want to have those kind of people around me. And listen, I'm in teaching. Like, I
Facts.
talk to kids
I agree with that.
all the time. I mean, hundreds of kids, right? And they all got these like wild things that they want to do. Never have I told anybody, nah, bring it down a few notches. If anything, they tell me, and this is my personality, any of y'all know me, know I'm this way. If you tell me, I'm like, you're a cheerleader from that point. I'm like, yeah, you could do that. You can. There's no reason why you can't. Because the truth is, like, yo, everything in this world was created by somebody. Why can't you do it? You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, do it. I'm completely like, yo, you can do that. Everything was made by somebody. Why not? Go for it. And I know in my own life, when people were telling me, oh, back plan and plan 3 and plan 4, and you got to have your plan Z. Like, I wish I would have never heard that. You know what I'm saying? Because go all out. And the thing really is, what I tell kids or even adults, yo, do you enjoy doing it? Then that's enough. You might get paid millions for it. You might not ever get paid doing it. But if you enjoy it, then you're living your life the way you want to.
Facts.
Period. Whatever that thing is. So go out there, do whatever it is that you want to do. And, that plan B, I don't even know what that is. You know what I'm saying? Go all out with the thing you enjoy doing. You enjoy doing it, and, rock out. But having people around you, like Tess is saying, having people around you that you trust, yeah, that's incredibly important. Are those people worthy of your trust, or
That's
are
a
they not?
whole.
Like I said, that's a
Yeah, I'm
whole
about to
nother
say that's
topic
a
we
whole
can
other.
talk
We already added it to
another time. But
I
I
just
had
want
to,
to
I had
say,
to let that one loose. You know what I
Ness,
mean?
I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
want to say,
It was there.
But with us, Yeah,
I just want to say shout out to Ed Lover. I remember I was at this show. I was like probably like 18 at the time, and he gave this speech on stage. And he said I ain't never had no plan B, because he said to have a plan B means that I believe that my plan A ain't gonna work. And that was one of the realest things I've ever heard in my life, in reference to what Dre was saying, because he right. People always be like, what's your plan B? And he said, I never had a plan B, because that just means that I thought my plan A is not gonna work. And that was so real.
So,
So I never was a fan of that.
no, finish your thought.
No, I was saying I wasn't a fan of that either. Like from that day, I had a whole catharsis. I was like, yeah, nah.
Got you. So I'm gonna chime in. How bad can ego be? It can be fucking terrible. Because what happens is people get addicted to ego. People allow ego to dictate their life. Uh, that Dre stepped on my new shoes. I'm gonna smack the shit out of Dre, because who is he to step on my new shoes? And now you smack the fifth degree black belt, and now you'd be lucky if you alive after the encounter is over. You see? And so what happens is we allow ourselves to be consumed by ego. And it's real simple, like we said on Food, Fitness, and Fun. It's real simple to stroke the ego. On Food, Fitness, and Fun, we spoke about this video that Dre found and we decided to talk about. This dude is going around the gym and just saying, hey, you look strong. How much can you bench? And cats are saying astronomical numbers. Oh, yeah, I mean, they like, I ain't been in the gym in like 4 months, but it used to be 400. Word. Son was like, oh, you used to bench 400? All right, but what you think you could do today? Oh, I don't know, maybe like 325. Niggas couldn't lift shit.
Wow.
Most of the people in the video, the number they said they couldn't lift. And he fooled them real easy. Okay, listen, how about this? For whatever number you say, I'll give you $1 amount. So if you said 315, he would pay you 315 if you could lift it one time. There's like 10 or 12 people in the video. Only like 2 or 3 were able to do the number they said. Why? Because their ego was in check. They wasn't wilding the fuck out. Niggas is like, yeah, how much could you do? Oh, yeah, 350. All right, I got 350 right here if you could do 350. Cats can't do it. Cats, oh, I could do 215. Okay. What happens is you allow your ego to get stroked just a smidge, and now you think you're the king of the world. And so ego can be fucking terrible if it's not checked. You see? Engine agreement. So that's my response to the original question. Yeah, if you don't check ego, it's fucking terrible. And what happens is many people, I'm not going to say men, many people forget to take that shit off and just sit it down for a minute. Going back to my example, hey, Dre stepped on my new all white ups. All right, well, was it an accident? Is this worth me getting into an altercation? There's no risk assessment because you simply are reactive. You know what I'm saying? Oh, but who told Nestor to wear a hat to the pod? He didn't ask me could he wear that silly shit. How dare he? I gotta wild out. I gotta block him. I gotta curse him out because he don't know who the fuck I am. But what's all that for? You just allowed ego to ruin a long-term friendship. You just allowed ego to fuck up your pod because you kicked Nestor off the pod for not checking with you, but Nestor's a great contributor to the pod.
Man, kick a dude off with a hat.
See? So you know what I'm saying? Or for ego, but that's what happens. You know what I'm saying? We've all been in situations where we got to ask ourselves a question. What should I do right now? But what happens is when you ask yourself internally, okay, what should I do right now? Your ego says some wild, crazy shit, and you're like, yeah, ego. All right, so I'll show my age a little bit. You know what I'm saying? There's a film, there's a stand-up comedy called Eddie Murphy Raw. And he gets into this stand-up, this bit about how he got into a fight. And he said, what made him do it? His ego. He said, the dude wilded out. His ego jumped out of him and said, hey, punch that guy in the face. And he goes through this whole back and forth with his ego in the comedy sketch. And that's what happens in those moments where we ask ourselves, hey, What should I do right now? Our ego comes out and says, yeah, punch Dre in the face for stepping on your shoes. You didn't use any form of logic. You just wowed all the way out. And yes, Tez's point is 100% correct. Your inner circle, and I guess we'll get into inner circle on another pod, another episode, but your inner circle, part of their job is to help you stay in the confines of not walling out. To say, hey, before you just pack everything up and move, maybe you want to ask yourself a couple questions and then move. You know, hey, you just met this chick on Tuesday. You sure you want to marry her on Friday? Did you ask how much debt she has? Do you know her last name? You run a family background check. You ask about her in the hood. Anything? So that's the job, right? So when Tez said that, he's absolutely right. If I say, hey, you know what? I think I'm gonna go enter a bodybuilding competition. Sometimes I work out, you know. Sometimes I'm gonna holler at two of these dudes right here because it's their job to do fitness stuff. That's what they do for a living. So I'm gonna holler at them. Hey Dex, what you think about XYZ? Hey Dre, what you think about XYZ? And they supposed to keep it real. Like Tez said, yeah, okay, listen, yeah, you do work out sometimes, but you're gonna get fucked up if you just enter a competition. Why don't you grind out for a minute and maybe here's how I can help you do that. Tez is 100% correct on that.
Yeah. You know, but I do want to give a couple of examples of, you know, as I was saying, Dex was saying, that ego being used as a tool or weapon, however way you want to use it, Absolutely. Just knowing when to use it, right? So like we just had 9/11, and we know that a lot of people died that day, but a lot of people survived, right? And some of the people that survived was in horrible situations. And they used that ego tool that's like, yo, it's dark, it's smoky, I don't know where we at, but we're getting out of here. My leg is broken, your back, listen, we are getting out of here.
Yes.
That's that ego. You know, myself, if I've been in situations where it's like I walk into a space and there's 5 or 6 people that's like, yo, I'm gonna fuck you up. And I'm just like, yo, and most martial artists are like this anyway. Like, yo, no, the fuck you not. You know what I mean? Like to look at something and look at the odds and be like, fuck those odds. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna fucking do this shit any fucking way.
Right.
You know, that's when you know when to turn that on. And so it is a tool. It is something that you should learn how to foster and manipulate when you need it. You know what I'm saying? Understand that, yo, if you use this thing properly, it can help get you out of situations. And then as you're saying, the flip side, it can get you into situations if you don't use it properly.
Absolutely.
So,
Correct.
You know, applying that wisdom and understanding the difference, super important.
I agree.
Yeah.
But there's no rationale. You know, that part is definitely missing, especially when you said why ego's bad. Ain't no rationale. You don't even see none of that.
Right.
Because you so ego driven. You just see what you see. You so self-absorbed. You so vain.
Right.
Yeah.
But
know
you
what
also,
I mean?
you gotta mix. You gotta how to say this? You gotta keep your ego in check with your own humility.
Yes.
Right. You gotta be humble.
Somebody said it.
Like me as a parent, I'm trying to raise my kids to be humble. Right.
Mhm.
I tell them no matter what you want, no matter what you want to be in this world, you can do whatever you want, but be humble, be respectful, and understand that you got to put work into doing it. You can't just say I'm gonna be an astronaut, knock on NASA's door, and be like, "Yo, I'm an astronaut. Hire me."
Right.
It's not going to be that way. You're going to laugh out, and your ego's going to take the massive hit, and
Yeah.
you know, you're not going to feel the same.
Right.
But you got to have that humility in check, and that's where your ego can be used as a viable weapon to help you get better, or to not put you in situations where you're humiliated. You know,
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
it all goes back to what Nestor said in the beginning. Balance. There
Correct.
has to be balance. Like all things in life.
Yeah,
Sir.
let me tell you one funny story. I was on vacation and I had to use a subway in another country. And, you know, that can be a daunting thing because you don't know where you're going. But the ego said, I'm from New York. There's no subway system that could stop me in another country. There's just no way. When I got to where we were going, I said to my girl, I'm from New York, there's no way a subway system's going to stop me in another country. It just doesn't happen. You know, the ego came out because I know it's true.
Right.
You know what I mean? No way. What? No, let's get on the train. You know what I mean? That's a random aside.
Oh, that's great. I love
Timberland
it.
State of Mind came out.
Right.
His Timberland
For real,
State of
that's like I
Mind.
said,
You
Yo,
feel
man,
it?
yeah, you know what I mean?
No
You know what I mean? That's
Stop.
that New York City.
His
No.
uptown personality. You know, his Air
New
Force
York
One
City, no matter-
personality
right,
came to
right.
mind.
Right. That's why you can go anywhere in the world and just meet cats from New York. You'd be like, Ukraine, what are you doing here? Yeah, so I'm from Harlem. You'd be like, oh, nuts.
In the middle of a hike somewhere, right? You just
Right.
run into a dude from
Right.
Harlem and shit.
So, right, you gotta be on Mount Everest. Be like, yes, I'm from the Bronx. What's good? What?
No,
He's still on Mount
I
Everest.
just like, yeah, it's crazy out there. It's crazy, man.
Yo, you go on safari, run into a nigga from 125th Street. Like, yo,
Right.
Nah.
You still say this?
Out there.
Right. Be living with the rhinos and be like, yeah, I'm from Staten Island, but I'm moved
It's real. Look,
It's the same thing, son. It's the same thing.
I went to an Italian restaurant
Yeah.
and I'm trying to speak all the time. Tavolo per due, per favore. And the woman was like, "Oh yeah, you want a table for two? Sit down." And she walked by a couple times. She walked by a couple of times. I said to my girl, "She's from New York. There's no denying it. She's from New York. I can hear the voice." Finally, I said, "Where you from?" "I was born in New York." I was like, "Oh, I thought you was probably from Bensonhurst or something." She says, "No, I'm born in the Bronx." She goes, "I'm the original Jenny from the block." That's what she said. So,
In Italy.
That's it. That's it.
yeah, but it's true. That's true. That's true.
That's it, man. Yeah, that New York ego is a whole nother podcast.
Oh,
You know?
yes. My
We
God.
when we do that one, we all gotta have
New
either
York
Tim's
State of
on
Mind.
or
Isn't
Air
it called
Force
New York
Ones.
State of Mind? New York State of Mind. And Yankee hats. We got to have Yankee
You know
hats.
what I mean?
Too.
You know what
And
I
our
mean?
Tims.
Yes,
Look, he-
Oh man.
Yeah, anyway.
Love it. Love it.
Yo, this nigga pulled out the
No doubt.
uptowns. He
Love
pulled out the Air Force Ones, y'all.
Word.
All right.
Classic.
So,
Oh,
any
man.
last thoughts on ego? That's it for this ego-driven podcast.
No doubt.
All right, fellas.
Oh.
Oh, go ahead, Days.
No, because I feel like we probably would just be going in circles. Or I think we pretty much addressed a lot of things.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just I didn't want to cut you off. I've been trying to work on my cutoff game. You know what I'm saying?
He's checking his ego,
I've been
y'all.
trying,
He's checking
son,
his
'cause,
ego.
the listeners, they be hitting me. They like, hey, listen, I want to put it in the comments.
Right.
You cool peoples, but son, you cut Dre off. Yo, son, I was
Oh, yeah,
watching
yeah,
such
yeah.
and such. You cut off this person. I'm like, all right, I'm sorry. So I
Yeah,
just,
you just be Kanye and cats.
you know what I'm saying? You don't even deserve this award. You know what I'm saying? Really, Beyonce. This is
I'ma let you
Beyonce's
speak.
award. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Now I'm gonna let you speak.
Right.
But
Yeah, I'm gonna let you pod, but right now,
Let
I'm
you
gonna let you
but
pod.
first,
Niggas,
let
you
you
know, you
pod,
gotta
I'ma
be
let you
millennials.
pod.
I'm gonna let you pod.
I'm right.
But right now, food and fitness and fun is the best podcast. right now.
You know what I mean? Right. Just walking to other people's, you know what I'm saying?
hey,
Yo.
I'm gonna let you pod. That's what's up. Oh, man.
Oh my God.
I like it,
Oh, man, that's
I
what's
love
up.
it.
I can't even believe we even saying that shit so casually, like where it came from. You feel what I'm saying?
Ego,
Like,
where you
I'ma
think
let
it came from?
pod.
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna let you
The
pod,
king of
but
ego. Where you think it came from?
podcasting
Yeah, right.
for real. Do y'all think? But a lot of it seemed like a lot of podcasting or a lot of podcasts is rooted in ego. You feel what I'm saying? You see how we touching on this subject so organically, so genuinely. But a lot of podcasts is rooted in, it seems, let me not say that, because, they'll be like, he said it. They try to scold me. I don't give a damn. But, I don't.
Stand in your
Shit,
truth,
I'm
son. Stand in your truth.
Listen, brother, I'm here to fuck shit up like Sex on the Ceiling. You dig?
Hey.
It's not fault.
Word to mother. But listen, it seems as though like you said how it started, because a lot of things is just like people exercising their opinion. Some people's opinion be rooted in ego. You get what I'm saying?
But Days, it's the whole thing. It's the how many likes. It's the how many views. So that whole thing is all wrapped in together. You know what I mean? Like, yo, if I don't get X amount of views, I'm turning this off. I'm just deleting it. You know what I mean? It's the whole thing is wrapped up in the ego. You know what I mean?
But
You're not just podcasting.
that also ties into confidence, right? Like, I'm a streamer, right? And you just touched on the viewers. So I see a live result of viewers when I stream, right? So lately I've been hitting a cool stride, higher number than I normally am used to seeing, right? And it boosts up my ego. But my confidence also goes like, hey, understand that it's probably for now, but might take a dip. But I also know that if I don't have that many amount of viewers, I used to be that way. I used to be like, I only got like 2 viewers, yeah, I'm just wrapping it up. I only have like 5 viewers, I'm wrapping it up. But if I know that I'm confident in what I'm doing, I'll keep it going, and then next thing I know, my viewers will go back up, and I keep going. So the confidence and ego that has to go hand in hand with everything. That to me is the balance and check for ego. To understand that there is limitations and there is time to push the button and to keep going. So that goes in line with what Ness is saying with the balance. And yeah,
I'm about to pull a J. So we got to pull out the true definition. So in the true definition of confidence, right? Because I think it was dope. That's something you said. I think that's how confidence can balance ego. Because ego, right? Right. So when you moving with ego and confidence, right? You want what you want. And if you don't get what you want, you're not satisfied in that sense. The ego is not satisfied. Yeah, you agree? Like the ego is not satisfied. But with confidence, you're okay whether if it works out or not. And that's in the definition itself. When you confident, you like, yo, I'm gonna do this. And if it don't work out, you still gonna be confident to continue to do it again. Versus with ego, if the situation don't work out, then you somewhat disappointed. You hurt because you never even saw yourself losing. Even though you ain't even know how to do it. If somebody challenging Dre, they don't even know how to fight. You feel what I'm saying? They don't even know how to fight, but they so ego driven that they don't even see themselves losing, and they end up getting their ass whooped. So now they scarred. You feel what I'm saying?
I'm gonna throw another shrimp on the Barbie. I know we gotta go, but put it like this.
Right.
now I shrimp.
We said confidence, we saying ego, but then there's a whole nother thing is principles. You know what I'm saying? I think about things like the civil rights movement and stuff like that, where people are like, yo, I can't back down. I don't care about the odds. I can't, you know what I mean? Like you saying, Dave, it's like, I may not even be the best person to do this, but I can't let this go. You know what I mean? It's like your principles is a whole nother thing where it's like, yo, this is what I stand for.
Correct.
And I'm not going to have that be violated. And I'm just going to make this work. This is why, like the civil rights movement, you had a lot of cats who were in their 20s, 22, less than 25, doing a whole movement. You know what I'm saying? Like, was like, wow, this cat wasn't even 25 years old. And you Black Panthering and hitting colleges and doing whatever because they had these principles. It wasn't even about their ego. You know what I mean? So that's a whole nother element to this whole thing. I think it's like what you stand for. You know what I'm saying?
But what we're seeing is, though, ego is forged in family, your circle of friends, your principles, and all these different things that form what your ego could become. And if you don't have the right people around you, it'll be wild and woolly and reckless. You know what I'm saying? If you have the right people around you, you know when to pull it out and when to keep it in. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what we're coming to understanding from this big topic. It's good.
I think that's the big difference, like between doing something for ego and doing something for principle. Correct. Is ego is generally more self-serving. It most of the time is more about yourself. And I'm not saying that like a bad thing, because it is good to be selfish sometimes. But that is where that comes from. Versus like doing something for principle.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, the principle, it reminds me of a video I saw today, right? Israel Adesanya from the UFC. he was in a fight. He was getting his ass kicked, and he remembers saying this out loud, but also to the person he was fighting, "I'm ready to die for this," which also instilled that confidence not only in himself, but to put that fear into his opponent. Like, yo, you're not taking this from me, homie. You're not. And him saying that, putting that in the air, making it came to fruition. He ended up winning the fight in dramatic fashion, but it was also he had that confidence, he had that principle within himself to know that my ego, yeah, it's not where I wanted it to be, but my principle is going to take me that extra step above and help him, took over the fight.
Principles are a little different than ego in the sense like principle can inform ego, but ego shouldn't inform principles, right? So if I say, yeah, off principle, I'm not going to do these group of things, right? These 10 things I will never do, or these 10 things I must always do because they're principle. Ego can't change that, because if I am firm on these principles, if this is part of the foundation of who I am, then ego shouldn't be able to affect that. Now, those principles can inform ego, like what you're saying, right? I'm ready to die for this. This is how much I believe in it. This is the goal. This is what I'm striving for. So yeah, that principle informed ego in that moment, but ego should not inform your principles. You shouldn't be building principles around your ego. That's when it gets dangerous.
Cat's getting deep right now.
Let's do it. You know what I'm saying? We're going to talk about it. Let's talk about it. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think it's informing the ego.
You know what I mean?
Formative ego. Formative ego.
I don't think in those situations the principles are informing the ego. I think it's just something else that drives the action.
Okay.
So it could either be the principle driving the action, or it could be your ego.
I can see that. I don't disagree.
I just view it that way, where it's like these are just like things that push those actions.
I dig that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the ego could exercise the principle in a sense too, because some people don't be strong on their principles.
But that's what
You
I'm
feel
saying
what I'm
shouldn't
saying?
happen. You're right, and I'm saying
Shouldn't
that
happen,
that's
right.
not good. That's dangerous.
Right.
Well, with lack of discipline, anything is dangerous.
Right. So if you're saying my principles are coming from ego, if your ego is informing, if your ego is forming, creating the principles you have, that's a problem.
Oh, you said I thought you meant informing as far as like activation.
Nah, I'm
Think-
saying
think
like
of it
if
like
you're
this.
using your ego to build your principles, to build your foundation ain't shit. It's gonna fall.
Think of it like this,
I
like Conor McGregor's ego, right? We all can acknowledge that Conor McGregor has an ego, right? He goes into every fight thinking that he's never going to lose. He doesn't he's too busy doing X, Y, Z instead of practicing. He gets into a fight, now he gets his ass whipped. He has that ego that is his principle that he can't lose. So he created that high standard for himself, but didn't put the work to hold those standards of his ego.
Yeah, that's something that
All right, go.
that's something that all fighters do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Conor McGregor. I mean, if Mike Tyson has a fight right now, Mike Tyson's not going to be like, yeah, you can fuck me up. Mike at 56, 58 years old will be like, I'll fuck you up. I don't give a fuck. You know, that all fighters are like that. It's like when you are about to get into battle, even if you're talking about like the military, right? Ukraine versus Russia. Like Russia's way bigger than the Ukraine. But Ukraine is like, man, fuck that shit. We're gonna fucking fight. We don't care what the odds are. We're gonna just do that's that tool you need to get through this shit. Even if, like you're saying, you didn't do the practice, you don't have the weaponry, you don't have all the stuff that you don't need. Most fighters at least, walk into situations where it's like impossible situations, but they have this mindset. It's like, yo, I don't give a fuck about the odds. I'm the best. I'm the baddest motherfucker. You must be out of your fucking, that's a fighter's mentality. You know what I'm saying? So it's not just Conor McGregor. It's every person that enters any ring or any fight. A lawyer might be the same way. Like their arena is the courtroom. They don't walk and be like, well, we might lose this one. Nah, fuck that shit. We're going to win. And if we lose, we're going to challenge it. We're taking this all the way to the Supreme Court, right? Like That's the mindset you walk in with. You know, when you prepare for a fight.
My point. I'm sorry.
All right, go ahead.
I got you real quick. My point of that is that your ego has gotten to the point where you created the principle that you won't accept losing as an option.
Right.
Tez, I'm just going to jump in on what you said. With Conor McGregor, and then it becomes like what you talked about with your circle. Now, the circle can't even handle that ego. You know what I mean? He got that. He has to think that way, definitely. But where's the person saying to him, now, yo, cut that shit out. Come back in the gym. You got to practice for this. You got to get ready for this guy. You know what I'm saying?
This is Mickey with Clubber Lang.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, Tez, your picture just froze on my screen. It's just you smiling. It's like a perfect picture.
That's fine.
It's like the whole time. I haven't seen you in the past 10, 15 minutes. It's just you smiling. It's cool though. It's just like you're like the perfect shot of you smiling.
I love it.
Anyway, but
what's up though? All right.
Right. I think we're good now, right?
Yeah.
Will our egos let us walk away now?
No further questions. I rest my case, Your Honor.
All right, great. Fellas, I thank you all for being here. And I thank you all for contributing. This was wonderful. And I'll edit all 10,000 pieces and get it out as soon as possible. Because this shit was a wild one. Like,
it wouldn't let us live, man.
Nah, but we pushed through. Our principles wouldn't let us give up. You know what I'm saying?
Our ego didn't let us give up. That's it.
That's it.
A good circle.
That's it.
Principles.
We could call this episode ego driven.
Together.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. All right, fellas. Thanks again. And viewers will be back in another month with another hot topic or a few more. Thanks again, everybody watching, listening, subscribing, sharing. This is Man Cave Monday. We see y'all soon.